Yeah, here we are in Fjords. This is kind of an older game, older snapshot, but Bringy, myself, Beyond are in a E25 platoon. You can see Bringy's on 4 kills, I'm on 2, and Beyond just died on 3 kills. But yeah, E25 still a fun tank. And I'm about to, have an amazing almost fail here because it's been a while since I played the E25, or at least it was when I played this game. But just driving down here, hunting down the enemy T21, and whoa! Who put that rock there? So I get shot, and look at that! Oh wow! Yeah, I got away with it. Bridgie takes out the T21, but yeah, totally intentional, guys. Totally intentional. So why is it that wargaming always hide rocks behind bushes and trees? Why? Why do you do that, wargaming? Oh, okay, where did that come from? We get some air. I get shot. Managed to tip my vehicle. Oh, I do a complete handstand. I'm expecting to flip over onto my back, but no, thankfully we get away with it. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's amazing how many maps where wargaming managed to hide rocks behind bushes. I don't know. Is it intentional? Are they trolling us? You tell me. Hi folks, and welcome to the Ace Tanker for the Pvlvv, the Tier 2 Swedish tank destroyer. And don't ask me what the Pvlvv FM42 stands for, because it's obviously, it must mean something to wargaming, but this tank was a prototype, only one was ever built, and it was never given a name. So this tank is nameless, so I have no idea what the Pvlvv FM42 means. Well, obviously FM42 is the model and the year it was introduced, but the Pvlvv, I have no idea. Maybe someone out there in Swedenland could let me know what it actually stands for, but it's a made-up designation by wargaming. Now, even though it is a prototype and only one was ever built and it never even got a name, the history of this tank is actually quite interesting, because this is the Landsverk L1 or Landsverk 120, the L120, which is a tank we don't actually have in game. This is a tank destroyer based on the L120. Now, the L120 was designed around about the same time as the L60. They were designed side by side. The difference is that the L60 was designed and being built by Landsverk, and the L120 was designed by the Swedish Army, and they asked Landsverk to build it. So in 1936, the Swedish Army approached Landsverk and they paid for a chassis, just a chassis of a new tank, which Landsverk decided to call the 120. Landsverk delivered on the chassis. The chassis seemed to do okay, because a year later the Swedish Army came back and said, okay, the chassis is doing okay, can we have a turret? And Landsverk built them a turret and sold them the turret, and it seemed to be doing okay, but Landsverk didn't really want to develop the 120. They kind of wanted to sell the Swedish Army L60s, and the Swedish Army seemed to like the L60, even though the 120 was their own invention. So as part of a deal, Landsverk sold the Swedish Army L60s and bought back the 120. So they sold the L60s and bought the L120 they built back from the Swedish Army. They then took the 120 and they sold it to Norway. And the L120 became Norway's first tank, which was called, and forgive my Norwegian, and even forgive my memory, I think it was called the Riksstanden Tanken, or Riksstand Tanken, one of those two, which was Norway's first tank, and it was armed with a machine gun as opposed to a cannon. So that's the end of the L120, a tank we don't actually have in game. But while they sold the 120, the only one they had, to Norway, they also had the plans for the L120, so they decided to do an experiment, and they came up with this, which is a hybrid based on the 120. This is an anti-aircraft gun / tank destroyer. It could perform both roles. Now, it was designed in 1939, it was built and trialled in 1942, and I don't know whether or not it passed its trials. I think maybe Sweden went in a different direction for its tank destroyers, but it never got past prototype stage. stage. But in the game files for World of Tanks, this is not the Pvlvv. This is actually called the L120, which is, you know, a little bit interesting in the game file. So it's recognized as the L120, but it's not the Norwegian tank. It's a tank destroyer anti-aircraft hybrid. That probably comes across, that's about all it, or that's all for the history, but that probably comes across in the choice of guns, because here we're using the final gun, which is the 37mm, but the stock gun for this tank is a 20mm autocannon. Now on paper, the penetration, the accuracy, the alpha damage, that's what the word I'm looking for, they all seem to be very, very similar between the stock gun and the final gun, but the stock gun is an autoloader, which I assume is a reference back to the fact that this was a hybrid anti-aircraft gun. I decided not to use the stock gun in this game because even though it's an autoloader, and usually autoloaders, I don't know, for the most part perform better than final guns, and as I say, on paper they're almost identical. The thing is, the autoloader needs to land and hit all its shots, so when it fires in a burst, all those shots need to hit, and I would prefer, at least in this case, to be able to fire one shot and do the same damage and not risk some of the shots missing when you fire a burst from the autoloader. So that's pretty much why I'm using the final gun. This is my second game in the tank, I believe, possibly my third. It's been a while since I've watched or played this game, but we're gonna go. We are here on mines, and yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So yeah, you can see that the gun traverse is okay, and it's not a slow TD. The thing that really did surprise me about the Pvlvv FM42 is the fact that it's only got 7 degrees of gun depression, which is very unusual for Swedish tanks and Swedish tank destroyers. And it might have been, I don't know, I really don't know. It might have been the reason why it never made it past prototype. As I say, it was a hybrid between an anti-aircraft gun, which really wouldn't need as much gun depression, and a tank destroyer. But we're working our way up the 1-2 lines here on mines, and you know, even though I'm a lightly armored tank destroyer, I'm not going to play passively. I want to move up, I want to spot tanks. I had a hint of a shot in the M2 Light and he's disappeared. But I want to spot. I've got a very good crew in this. I'm using my Swedish crew from the Christmas event, the female crew. So yay, I'm finally playing low-tier tanks with a good crew. And I've got binocs and a camo net, which means my view range is exceptionally good for a tier 2. You know, we're getting assistance damage on the M2 Light, and I'm just waiting here for tanks to appear. So I've got most of the south of the map spotted, and how many? Yeah, a couple of M2 Lights on the enemy team, so they've no doubt they've taken the hill. Swing around, and there's an enemy Pvlvv, or Pvlvv. I've been calling the tank the wrong name, and yeah, accuracy is not the best. You've only got 0.4 accuracy, and that's enough to get me spotted. So try and get into cover. The M2 Light's still here. So when you're playing low-tier games these days, I mean, I don't really like low-tier games because tanks like the M2 Light can absolutely rip you apart. M2 Light is hideously overpowered in low-tier games at the moment. Unfortunately, we lost our Panzer IIs, but Panzer I in the distance, so I'm just edging forward. And you can see that the aim time is not amazing, but it's okay. And you can see the rate of fire is quite good, so put another shot in. Is he still there? Yes, he is. We're able to take out a Panzer I and more targets appearing. And, you know, because of my binocs, because of my decent crew, I'm actually picking up quite a bit of assistance damage. At least I think I am, although according to the stats down here I'm only on 22 assistance damage, but I think I pick up quite a bit of assistance damage in this game. I can't remember when it happens. Okay, more tanks moving down, so yeah, the camo rating seems to be quite good. Not spotted by the Vic Mark C, 6C. Take him out. Panzer II moves up, and I'm still not spotted. Although he is getting rather close now, and now I'm spotted, so I go for one more shot, but it's more important I get out of there because someone put a shot into me. And unfortunately, I've been ammo racked, so there goes 3,000 credits for my repair kit. Okay, 70 health left, and our team are winning quite comfortably. The score is 11-7, so just taking my time. Okay, so enemy Pvlvv took out our NC-31, but I'm just moving forward. And again, as I say, I'm a tank destroyer, but the thing about tank destroyers, if you're sitting at the back of the map, what you're basically doing is you're basically waiting for your team to die before getting into the action. You're waiting for enemy tanks to come to you. And I think a lot of tank destroyer players need to recognize the fact that they've got a keyboard, they've got WSAD, they can press W and move their tank forward. They don't have to play passively and sit at the back all the time waiting for tanks to be spotted. They can spot their own targets. Their camo rating is good enough to be able to spot their own targets and shoot them for the most part without getting spotted in return. But the thing is, you've got to stay within render range. You've got to move up and keep within the action, be able to shoot enemy tanks, be able to spot enemy tanks. Don't rely on your teammates to do all the work for you. So we're just advancing. I'm only on 3 kills and I've only done 259 damage, but T1, take him with a shot in the move, which is kind of surprising because this gun isn't very good at shooting on the move, but take out the T1, 4 kills, only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. Okay, 1 tank left on the enemy team. There goes any chance of a Top Gun. The SU takes out our M2 Light, which means he's all alone. I can take my time and just move around the corner, shoot him in the face, and maybe drive into cap to pick up a couple of cheeky cap points. So yeah, nothing special in the Pvlvv FM42, aka the Landsverk 120, aka the Riksdagen, Norway's first tank, even though it's a Swedish tank destroyer at tier 2. Just the ace, nothing else, but I think I spent 2, possibly 3 games on this tank before getting through it, and it aced it on 594 XP, 433 damage, 5 kills, nothing amazing, but 18 shots fired and 13 hits and pens. So I think the gun is okay. It's rapid firing enough. The accuracy is not amazing, but you know, if you can get up to medium to close range, it's quite good. Thing about it is it's got very poor gun depression and it's got no armor, so you do need to be a little bit careful, but it does have mobility, and if you've got a good crew and equipment, then you've got very, very good view range for a tier 2. So we spotted 1, damaged 7, destroyed 5, 160 assistance damage, and we managed to get 1 whole base cap point. Finished up with 11,000 credits, and it wasn't my first game of the day. I think this is the second, possibly third game in the tank, but we finished it pretty soon after this game and went on to the tier 3, so 891 XP overall. Yep, so as I say, game files for this tank say it's the Landsverk 120. It's a tank we technically don't have in game, but it might be a nice idea for another maybe gift tank, tier 2 premium gift tank for the Swedes, or maybe even we will eventually see it as Norway's first tank as a tier 1. Who knows, but anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.